Determine the slope and the y-intercept of the graph of the equation y equals -5. Then use the slope and y-intercept to graph the equation by hand. So let's see what we've got here. We're going to be looking for the slope and the y-intercept. And they've given us this equation y equals -5. So I see this y by itself on one side of the equation, which makes me think, well, this should be kind of in this y equals mx plus b form. Remember, this is called the slope-intercept equation, where m gives us information about the slope and the b gives us information about the y-intercept. Remember that the point 0, b will be the y-intercept. The issue comes in when I start looking a little more closely at this equation. I see the y by itself, y equals, but I don't have any x term. There's no x after this -5. And be careful not to want to put that in there because there's no x there, so we don't get to just assume that somebody must have forgotten it, so I'll put it in there. That -5 lines up over here with the b thing. So I have to figure out what's happened to this mx term. What's going on here? Why is that not showing up? Well, when things are being added or subtracted and they're not appearing, they're going dark on me here, that must mean that it equals 0, right? 0 minus 5 is -5. So this is equivalent to the equation that we started out with. But what part is 0? Is it the x that's 0? Is it the m that's 0? Because there's both of these pieces together. Well, keep in mind whenever we have a slope-intercept equation, we'll always be looking at the y variable and the x variable. So if we go ahead and put that x in place, 0 times x would give me 0. 0 minus 5 would give me -5. So this is equivalent to the equation that we were given. Now we can see that the slope must be 0. So my slope is 0, and the y-intercept, which they also asked us to determine, is going to be the point 0. And then remember that the 5 is a negative, right? There's the negative sign in front of that 5. So the y-intercept is 0, -5. So now we've got the slope and the y-intercept, and we're going to use that information to graph this equation. So the y-intercept is 0, -5. So let's plot that first. So from the origin, there's 0, and I go down on my y-axis down to -5, and I put a point right there. Now let's think about this slope. The slope, we said, equals 0. And remember, we want to be thinking about slope as the rise and the run, rise over run. Well, where's the 0 come in? How am I supposed to be thinking about that? Well, we can still think about, even with 0, as is true with any integer. If I have any integer at all, I can always put it over 1 and it will still equal that integer. And that also works with 0 because 0 is an integer too. So I could think of the slope as 0 over 1, a rise of 0 and a run of 1. So if we come over to our y-intercept, and think about how would we go from our y-intercept and have a rise of 0 and a run of 1? Well, the rise of 0 just means we don't go up and we don't go down. We just stay here. And the run of 1 means we just move to the right one place. And then we could do that again. I don't go up or I don't go down. I just go over 1. I go over, I go over. So notice what kind of a line we're getting here. We're getting a horizontal line. That will be true anytime I have a slope of 0. If the slope equals 0, I will for sure have a horizontal line because any horizontal line is going to have a rise of 0. And the run can basically be whatever I want the run to be because 0 divided by 1 or 0 divided by anything is always going to give me 0. So let's go ahead and get our line on here. bring down my straight edge. Pretty easy to line up this time because we don't have to rotate it around. Just going to be a nice straight horizontal line here. So we're going to draw our line, and then we'll get rid of our straight edge because we're finished with that. And then finally, as we always want to do when we're graphing lines, we're going to put arrows on either end of my line to show that that line continues forever. And so that's what it looks like when we're missing what appears to be missing the slope. We know that the slope can be 0. That means that we're going to have a horizontal line.